All right, guys. So Ron DeSantis, based Ron DeSantis was what I'm about to start calling him because it almost seems like everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is based. Okay, so based Ron DeSantis was asked about critical race theory at a Fox News town hall, and he does not hold back. Take a look.
This proposition that we are a systemically racist country. Your reaction?
Well, it's a bunch of horse manure. I mean, give me a break. This country has had more opportunity for more people than any country in the history of the world. And it doesn't matter where you trace your ancestry from. We've had people that have been able to succeed and all. And here's the problem with things like critical race theory that they're peddling. They're basically saying all our institutions are bankrupt and they're illegitimate. Okay, so how do you have a society if everything in your society is illegitimate? So it's a very harmful ideology, and I would say really a race-based version of a Marxist-type ideology. So we've banned it in our schools here in Florida. We're not going to put any taxpayer dollars to critical race theory, and we want to treat people as individuals, not as members of groups.
All right, guys, like I said, that is based Ron DeSantis, and I 100% agree with him, right? The idea of critical race theory is horse manure, and it is also harmful to our society, right? And it's also an offshoot of Marxist ideology. More specifically, critical race theory is an offshoot of critical legal theory, right? Which is an offshoot of critical theory, which is Marxist. Okay, that's what it is. Critical race theory is grounded in Marxism. It has its roots in Marxism. Nobody can argue against that. And his overall point, like I said, is correct. It is harmful. It's one of those things where, you're implementing this ideology and you're telling kids that America is a racist country, right? And everything around us is explained by race, okay? And that all disparities and inequality in society between racial groups is explained by racism, right? Because apparently there's a cabal of racist white people that are running this country to try to make sure black people stay down, okay? And when you tell kids things like this, right, subconsciously what it makes people think is that, one, as a white person, that, oh, I'm superior to this black person and that I have advantages over this person in this system, okay? It rejects the idea of meritocracy. It rejects the idea that if you work hard and you got to work smart, people tend to forget that working smart is probably just as important as working hard, or probably even more important, to be quite honest with you. You can achieve the American dream. This is a line of logic from critical race theory in direct opposition to our American values, okay? And what we grew up understanding about how to succeed in a capitalistic system, okay? Meritocracy is important. It also tells young black kids and kids that are non-white that, hey, you're at a disadvantage, that you can't do as much as the next person no matter how hard you work, because we have institutions and a legal system that is designed to keep you behind, right? And that permeates all levels of society. That's what they say. And again, when you ask these people what law is specifically racist, they never have an answer. They never have an answer. It's always this abstract monologue about slavery and Jim Crow and redlining and all these things, right, that they complain about, which, again, a lot of these things, the Democrats are responsible for, the things they complain about, and they never mention that. They always tend to leave that part out of it, okay? Like, they complain about redlining. They leave the part out about how FDR, their hero on the left, was responsible for that, right? They love complaining about the criminal justice system and how racist the criminal justice system is. Again, without mentioning the fact that Joe Biden is a part of that, okay? So even if you accept what they're saying is true, blame has to be put on the Democrats and the people that are pushing this ideology in the first place. And it's just funny because they even try to apply this stuff to some of the most meritocratic systems that we have, like sport, that objectively has nothing to do with race, right? For example, I mean, they try to talk about quarterbacks, right, in the NFL. And they try to explain how, Justin Fields, him falling, it's because of his race, right? White quarterbacks tend to get a leg up over black quarterbacks. Lo and behold, draft comes around. Trey Lance, who's black, right? Who was on nobody's radar after this season in terms of being a top 3 pick, goes into top 3, right? Black quarterback goes into top 3, rose up after the season to become a top quarterback. But you have Mark Kellerman and ESCN out here trying to float the idea that, oh my God, the draft is racist, right? That there's some racism going on against NFL quarterbacks. Again, the league is 75% black. And they never asked the question of, okay, if disparities are bad, right, and disparities are explained by racism, doesn't that mean that the NFL being mostly black, does that not mean that it's racist, right? That the NFL is systemically racist? Is the NBA not systemically racist? Doesn't that mean that we need to put some type of law in place to help more white people go to the NBA or help more white people go to the NFL? Because apparently all disparities are bad, right? And it's a result of racism. So we need to implement laws. We need some affirmative action for these sports leagues. But see, you never heard proposals like that because everybody knows on his face how silly that sounds. Everybody knows that sports is a meritocracy, but they always want to apply this stuff to everything else, like schools. They want to apply it to jobs. They want to apply it to the workforce. And again, when you ask them what specific laws on the books are holding people back, they never have an answer. Okay? They always say stuff like, well, you got racist business owners, right? You have white business owners that don't want to hire black people. Okay, well, I'll go try to find a job at another place, right? A place that will value my skills on the marketplace fairly. And in theory, if you're passing up good talent, superior talent on the marketplace simply because of race, then you're probably not going to be in business that long because other companies that do hire minorities with superior talent will outcompete you, right? So it's not even like there's an economic incentive at that level to be racist. Or they'll be like, well, banks don't want to give you a loan. Okay, well, I'm going to go to a bank that will give me a loan. Just because there are some individual instances of discrimination doesn't necessarily mean that the whole system is racist, right? That everything is against black people. We know for a fact that's not true. Black people dominate entertainment. They dominate certain aspects of culture in society. Is that something where we need to have affirmative action to get more white rappers? Do we need that? And it's funny because laws like affirmative action actually create more discrimination and more racism. I mean, for example, everybody knows that Harvard was discriminating against Asians because apparently Asians were performing so well that they had to hold Asians to a higher standard of admissions and take less of them than white folks. Purely because they were superior at performance. That's literally what Harvard was doing because of something like affirmative action, because of this idea of absolute diversity at the cost of meritocracy. That, in my opinion, is textbook racism, saying that we're going to hold back this group right here because they're performing too well. They're doing too well, so we're going to hold them back. How is that not racism? Again, the leftist ideology is where the most racism is at, to be quite honest with you. And like I said, nobody's denying that, okay, there may be some individual racist in society, right? But they try to position that as if these individual racists have this crazy amount of power, right? Like, you know, Joe Schmo living in a trailer park with a Confederate flag somehow has this overarching power in the United States to hold down black folks. Right? That's how they're trying to position this stuff. Okay? And I love the fact that Ron DeSantis cuts through the BS. Right? He calls it what it is. Okay? We do not need this in our school system. What we really need to focus on is treating people like individuals and focusing on meritocracy and personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. That's a big one. That's a big one because my biggest problem with critical race theory is that because it doesn't accept meritocracy, it makes it so personal responsibility is no longer a thing. Okay? That people's personal choices, they shouldn't be held accountable for because, well, the system has held you back, so therefore your personal choices don't matter. When, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, personal choice in America, in today's America. I'm not talking about 1960s America. I'm not talking about 1900s America. I'm not talking about slavery America. I'm talking about 2021. In 2021, we have so many resources, so many opportunities, so many things that people can take advantage of. Your personal choices are what's holding you back. I don't care where you're from, okay? Everybody in this country can get educated. They can go to public school. They can choose whether or not they want to sit and learn the things they need to learn to go to college, right? Get a job or go to community college, learn a skill, do whatever they need to do to move up in society, okay? You have the worldwide internet at your fingertips. Everybody has a smartphone. You have the technology. You have all the resources in place that if you want to learn something, if you want to do something, if you want to get access to some resources, it's right there. In 2021, I really do believe that technology has leveled the playing field to where people can be treated like individuals. You don't need to be divided up in groups. You don't have to make excuses for people who are not doing as well as others, because in my opinion, everybody has the marginal resources that they need to succeed, to build upon. Now, everybody's not going to have the same amount of resources. That's not what I'm saying. But just because I worked hard and I sacrificed and I decided to leave something for my kids so they have an easier life, so that they have an advantage, I should not be punished for doing that. We should not punish people for wanting to make good decisions that leads to generational wealth. And I love the fact that Ron DeSantis just cut through the BS and said we need to treat people like individuals, that critical race theory is hogwash, and it is dangerous in our society. I really do think it is. Because I think what it does is that it gives people perpetual victim mentality. Why even try if the system is against you? If everything is so racist, why try? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.